it seemed like you guys had some missed opportunities, but kind of the late and the interception in the red zone, and then the 3 turnovers didn't get any points out of them. And did you feel like you guys kind of left some chances?
Kind of feel like what?
That you left some plays out there, and
I think that's true of every football game.
Yeah.
But I was really proud of our team's effort. We went into the ball game with the idea, or the our team goals. It was to go into their stadium with the idea that we had nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I thought that was great for our team. And I thought they really embraced that. And we came out of there with a lot of gains. We almost came out of there with a huge win. An unbelievable win, even though the odds were really stacked up against us. But I think we came out there with a little more confidence as a football team, and we had a lot of fun until the game was over, obviously. But we had a lot of fun playing the football game. It was a great crowd, a great atmosphere, playing a top 10 opponent at their place right down the wire. The last play of the ball game was huge for our football team. So we came out there with a little more confidence, even though we didn't win. And then I thought our team did a good job of overcoming the elements. There was some wind and then some noise that we had to deal with. And then I was very pleased that our team fought and still showed a great desire to win. So we got a lot out of the ball game yesterday. We never quit or never gave up, and a lot of teams in that situation might have. And I think we came out of the ball game with a lot of self-respect and pride as a football team. I've been to Ohio State more than one time, and usually on the way out on the bus, we usually get a lot of jeers and fingers and a lot of mockery. It was a little bit different this time. A lot of fans were clapping and giving us a thumbs up, and I was stopped by a lot of Ohio State personnel on the way out of the locker room. They congratulated our team for the great effort, taking their team right to the wire. But I think we came out there with some momentum and played a little bit better in the second half. So we gained a lot from the ball game yesterday. Obviously disappointed that we didn't win. But we gained a lot yesterday. We're a better football team today as a result of our efforts and our performance yesterday. There were some missed opportunities, but that's every football game. Every football game has some missed opportunities.
How do you explain the inconsistencies, like from one week to next with this team, especially these last 2 weeks where you had the performance against Wisconsin and then the performance against Ohio State?
I think it's human. We're not always the same every day. Some days you write better than others, obviously. Some days you're more inspired than others in some ways. I think we're a hungry football team, and we want to win. We've lost 4 football games, and our opponents, their collective losses are 4. And we took 2 teams that are ranked in the top 10 right down to the final play of the ball game. And then that's good for a good sign for our team in a lot of ways. But sometimes it can be rough sledding. We had a lot more guys banged up and dinged up, I think, going into the Wisconsin game than we have at any point in time throughout the course of the season. And they're a great opponent. We had a lot of 3 and outs on offense against Wisconsin, and right now they lead the nation. Their defense does in 3 and outs. Half the time throughout the course of the ball game, the opponent is 3 and out. I think 43 or 44%. So we want to obviously gain more consistency. But they're humans, so it's not always the same every day, So I guess it's a little bit of a result of human nature in some ways, and obviously we have to coach them better to make sure they're more sure about their plays and their assignments. But we're not going to be the same every day, every game, that's for sure.
Is there any updates on the injury front coming out of yesterday, looking ahead to next week?
We're in good shape. I don't think we got anybody injured yesterday that would be new. OJ went into the ball game questionable, and he played the first half, and then wasn't as effective as we'd have liked for him to be. So he didn't play in the second half, but I don't think we have anybody that's injured or far behind from a health standpoint.
What's going on with Kitchens?
Pardon me?
Justin Kitchens.
Well, I was disappointed that he wasn't in position to play. I think he could have really helped us yesterday. He's a good player. We thought going into the ball game that he would be ready to go, and that we could play him some at the right tackle spot and also some at the left tackle spot, and that would be good because we could use a little bit of help at both of those positions. And when we warmed up, he looked very stiff. He couldn't bend his knee very well, or as well as we thought that he needed to in order to play in the ball game. So he's going to be further along probably as a result of not playing in the football game, but he could have helped us yesterday and maybe made a difference because he's a good player.
What about Ricardo?
We didn't play Ricardo any. He warmed up and he didn't look very good. He'll get an MRI this week to make sure there's nothing there that we don't know about. But we anticipate him coming back this week, and maybe the time off this weekend will help him heal the two are kind of tied together in some ways. I think the fact that he's had both ankles injured and he's limped some and pushed himself through practice, I think that has created some issues with his shins. But that's why they're sending him to get an MRI tomorrow.
Can you talk about Delapo McCarthy a little bit? Even when you're 100% at the wide receiver position, do you see him continuing to make more of an impact?
Absolutely. He's a great try-hard guy. Gives you a great effort, and he has some talent. He's about 6'5", about 215, 18 pounds somewhere there, and he runs good and gives you a great effort, and he's a good football player. So absolutely, I think he's earned his playing time, and he's a guy that can help us win.
Did Kugler do enough yesterday to earn another start this week?
He did great. He probably played. I haven't checked all the grades, but just watching the film, I think he probably played the best out of all of our offensive linemen, which is a heck of a statement for a second-year guy, in a big game like that. But he sees things in front of him, and that's a big part of being a good football player. You can be the biggest and the strongest and the fastest, but you can't see what's happening in front of you and process it quick enough. Then it can slow your performance down. And he has great eyes. He can see what's happening in front of him. He's a heck of a football player and played very well yesterday.
What did you think of the personnel groupings that had Rob Henry in them? I think we're about 8 plays. Does that sound about right to you?
Right. We went under the center more yesterday, because of the noise. We're using the shotgun a lot more, and so a lot of our game plan was get underneath the center so we could hear the cadence and get the snap count, because we really felt like the team takeoff was going to be critical in the game yesterday. If we don't get off on the snap count against that defensive football team, you could be in real trouble. So we went under the center a little bit more, and with that in mind, that got us out of the shotgun some. And I think Rob Henry could service us maybe a little bit better right now in the shotgun in some ways. We played him going into the game, had a game plan to put him at different positions, and looking back on it, I would have liked to have played him more. But I thought he did very well. A little bit that he was in there, and he had a couple of good runs and did some good things. Be very, very important to us. Very important to us, But it was a tough loss. When you put your heart and soul into something, the preparation and play like that, it's very tough. It's a heartbreaking loss, in a lot of ways. But again, I think our football team is going to gain a lot from it. The overtime was tough. There were a couple plays throughout the course of the ball game. There's probably 3 or 4 plays that, if you could just change them a little bit, it would really make a huge difference maybe in the outcome of the score. We got into overtime, and obviously they scored and did well, and then we had our opportunities, and we had some communication issues. We had an issue with the headset on our offensive coordinator, and I thought that got us a little bit out of sync some. They don't hold the clock up for you when the series is going on. You have to do that between series, when you deal with your headset. So the overtime was tough, and we didn't perform as well, but we had our chances throughout the course of the ball game, and obviously we were just a couple plays away. Offensively, if you had to say what did we do well, we played hard, and we scored first on the very first play of the ball game, and that's 2 games in a row where we started off fast, and we blocked better on the perimeter. And then I thought it was great to see our offense respond in the third quarter with an 82-yard drive when Gary Bush scored on a pass play to allow us to retake the lead again. I was very excited about that, and at that point in time, I was pretty sure we were in position to win the football game. And we completed 64% of our passes, and we won the time of possession, which was really important because we were playing against an offense that had been averaging 41 points a game. We had held them to 22 points before we went into overtime, and a lot of that had to do with not only the play of our defense, but our offense staying on the field. At one point in time, we had I think an 18 or 19 play drive that lasted for over 10 minutes, and we didn't score on that drive, unfortunately, but their offense wasn't on the field, and we kept our defense fresh and allowed them to play harder towards the end. We would have liked to have maybe manufactured a more pass rush with our down linemen, and there's different types of pass rushes. Sometimes it's all-out pass rush, and you're not worried about a mobile quarterback, and sometimes it's a pass rush where you have to stay in your lanes and make sure that you keep the quarterback inside of the pocket. And I thought we were a little bit thick, as far as how we attacked the offensive lineman in our pass rush, and that negated our effectiveness some, and I think that showed at the end of the ball game. I was sure that we were going to be able to sack their quarterback on the last drive of the regulation play. We had some tough decisions to make there, about running the clock down or throwing it right there at the end of the ball game to try to get a first down, and you didn't where we were at field position wise. We didn't want to take a sack or turn it over and give them the ball game, so we elected to run the clock down as much as we possibly could, and then punt it away and hopefully we could hold them the length of the 60 yards or whatever it was in the 38 seconds that we had left on the clock. So again, it's a game of inches, and it certainly was yesterday.
Just on the big pass play, on their first play of that last drive, regulation, the 39-yarder, after you looked at the film, how'd that unfold from your standpoint?
Well, there were 3 or 4 things that you have to go back and look at the film before you make any judgments. But we have they got in a certain formation, and we had a corner that was assigned to zone coverage unless he got a certain type of route. Then he would stay in man coverage in that situation, and it was a type of route that he probably should have locked on and stayed into his man coverage techniques and assignments. But it was kind of splitting hairs in some ways. If it was going to be a crossing route, then we'd pass it off. If it was going to be an over route, and we were going to stick with it. And it was kind of in between the two, and he softened up his coverage, and the quarterback was able to stay alive in the pocket and dish it off, and as a result, it put them in position to score right there in the end. It was a missed assignment, or maybe a technical assignment in some ways.
A day after the heartbreaking loss, is there a little bit of a sign of relief that you're out of this 3-game tough stretch, and now you can just play football again?
Well, that's all we were doing yesterday was playing football, but not really a sigh of relief, But we knew what the competition was going to be like, coming into the ball game. Again, our 4 losses are the teams that combined collectively they've only lost 4 games. So it's some great competition, but not a sigh of relief because we have to play really well this weekend to beat a good Minnesota football team that's playing hard and believe they can win as well.
What did you see on the field goal and extra point ball?
They were low kicks. I could see that from the sideline, and that's all about striking the ball. You got to hit the ball in the right spot so you get enough lift on it. It's kind of like playing golf, which I don't do. But right here, you have to hit the ball just right for it to go where you want it to, right amount of lift and all that. But they were low kicks. Defensively, there were some really good things out there yesterday. That was a great offensive football team coming into the ball game. We held them for 120 yards less than their average, which is huge. And then we held them to 5.2 yards per passing attempt, which is good. We had 4 takeaways and we had 1 safety, and really they only had 3 explosive plays, but they were big ones, like the one we just referenced a minute ago. And then we thought going into the ball game to minimize their quarterback would be the difference in the ball game. And I think that our defense did a good job minimizing a great player, a Heisman hopeful type candidate. And I thought that was a difference maker in giving us a chance to compete to win. The fact that we were able to minimize their great quarterback throughout the course of the football game. And we didn't have any pre-snap penalties on defense, which is huge in an environment like that. So a lot of good things. Not a lot of missed tackles, but a couple that we did miss were key. But greatly reduced our missed tackles yesterday. So again, very disappointed that we didn't win, but we came out of there, I think, as a much improved football team as a result of it.
When you mentioned Gary's headset issues, was that a matter of then it was tough to get the play calls into the quarterback, or what?
Well,
how does that affect it?
Well, it affects it quite a bit because you're trying to get the right grouping in, and he has to call the play. And my headset went out in the first half for a little bit. They got it corrected, and his went out right during the overtime period. So we're trying to take headsets off of coaches and put them on coaches. So we're trying to get the headset off the line coach and put it on the coordinator because the O-line coach isn't calling any plays. So it gets you out of sync a little bit. The clock continues to run. So that not an excuse, but it made it more of a challenge. There were a couple plays there in the fourth quarter that I had to ask Coach Higgins up in the press box what the play was because I couldn't hear Coach Nord, and I could only get part of the response back from Coach Higgins. So it was difficult to communicate right here towards the end. But if we had just executed a little bit better, then it would have mattered.